The story begins at a Canadian airport. A father, Elliot, is traveling with his daughter, Ridley. They are traveling to another city because Elliot has to complete a business deal there. Ridley was a lonely girl without many friends. She had some pimples on her face that constantly bothered her. After a while, the flight arrives at the city they were going to. Upon arrival, Elliot and Ridley get into the car and leave, as Elliot was already late for his meeting. On the way, Elliot thanks his daughter for coming with him and explains to her that she shouldn't worry too much about the pimples on her face and should stop touching them. Elliot explains to her that these pimples are completely normal. They appear on every teenager's face. Ridley calms down a bit after hearing this. We then learn that her mother died some time ago, and because Ridley didn't like being alone, she often accompanied her father to work to keep him company. Just then, the man Elliot was supposed to deal with called him. He angrily yells at Elliot because he was late for the meeting. Elliot apologizes and makes numerous excuses, but luckily the phone network is down and the call is disconnected. Elliot breathes a sigh of relief and speeds up to reach the man's mansion, but suddenly an animal appears on the road and Elliot's car collides with it. After the impact, the car spins and stops on the side of the road. After a while, when things calm down a bit, Elliot asks his daughter, Ridley, if she's okay. Finding everything is fine, they both get out of the car to examine the animal that caused the collision. Ridley discovers it's no ordinary animal, but a strange horse with a horn on its head, a unicorn. The most shocking thing is that blue blood is gushing from its wound. Elliot is furious, as he's already late for the meeting. But Ridley is astonished by the mysterious unicorn, having never seen such a creature before. Instantly, the unicorn's horn glows with a yellow light, and without thinking, Ridley reaches out and touches it. As soon as Ridley touches the unicorn's horn, she suddenly begins to see strange things. Sights she can't understand. Everything blurs before her eyes, but then she hears Elliot's voice and regains consciousness. She sees her father beating the unicorn. Ridley yells at him to stop, but Elliot ignores her and doesn't stop until the unicorn is completely dead. A short while later, they arrive at Mr. Odell's mansion, where Elliot is supposed to finalize his deal, but the strangest thing is that Elliot had brought the unicorn's corpse in the trunk of his car. Stopping the car outside, Elliot gets down and goes inside the mansion. There, he meets Odell's son, Shepard, with whom he shakes hands and then greets Odell's wife. Finally, Elliot comes to Odell's room and apologizes for the delay. It's then that he learns that Odell has a serious illness and is now in his final days. Elliot is making excuses to get Odell to forgive him. Just then, Ridley begins to remember everything that happened with the unicorn today. Odell notices this and asks Ridley if she's okay. Ridley lies and says she's perfectly fine. Just then, Shepard asks Ridley about the rash on her face. Elliot interrupts and tells Ridley to go to the bathroom and wash her face to feel a little better. In reality, Elliot was only saying this to get her out of there. Elliot didn't want Ridley to ruin his deal or tell anyone what happened. When Ridley got out, she kept glancing back at the car and seemed quite nervous. At that very moment, a palace guard was watching Ridley and sensed something strange. When she approached the car and looked inside, she became convinced something was amiss, or perhaps something was hidden inside. Meanwhile, Ridley went to the bathroom and washed her face, but when she looked in the mirror, she discovered that all the rashes on her face had disappeared. When she looked at the towel, it was stained with blue blood, the blood of a unicorn. Odell was sitting with Elliot and told him that he had tried every treatment, but nothing had worked. Now he has given up and is waiting for death. Odell also reveals that he is making this deal to ensure the safety of his company and his family before he dies. He also entrusts Elliot with the responsibility of his son, Shepard. Ridley, meanwhile, is still astonished because all the spots on her face have almost disappeared, thanks to the unicorn's blue blood. After a moment of thought, she realizes that the unicorn's blood is magical and can cure ailments in the human body. At that very moment, the unicorn's horn in Elliot's car begins to glow faintly. When Ridley returns to her father, Elliot, he tells her that she should meet Odell's family. Ridley refuses, but Elliot insists, telling her that this deal will be the biggest deal of his life. Ridley asks him about the unicorn, and Elliot says that if she agrees to his proposal and meets Odell's family, he will fulfill her every wish. But before they can finish talking, strange behavior begins in the car, as the unicorn inside begins to move. Seeing this, Elliot immediately goes to Odell, apologizes, and explains that he must leave immediately. But Odell becomes angry and says that Elliot always fails to keep his promises. He explains that leaving now would be a great disgrace for him. Just then, a guard approaches Ridley and asks why she looks so nervous. Ridley is about to answer when a loud noise comes from Elliot's car. Everyone rushes out to see what happened. Suddenly, the unicorn comes back to life and starts tearing the car apart to get out. Seeing this, everyone present freezes in fear and shock, as the unicorn's appearance was so strange and frightening. But at that very moment, the guard immediately shoots the unicorn and kills it on the spot. Elliot is utterly terrified and at a loss for words. He then tells Odell and his family everything that happened to them on the way and how the unicorn got there. Everyone is astonished by Elliot's words. Then Ridley decides to tell the truth. She tells Odell that the unicorn's blue blood completely cured the rash on her face. Odell is surprised to hear this and asks Ridley if she feels anything strange in her body. Ridley says no. Everything is perfectly fine. Ridley suggests they contact the animal organization to come and take the unicorn, but Odell refuses, saying that if that happens, the government will misuse the creature, so he must handle the situation. At night, Elliot goes to his daughter's room to check on her. As soon as he sees Ridley, he asks why she's so sad. Ridley explains that when she touched the unicorn's horn earlier today, she saw some strange things. Elliot doesn't believe her and says she must be hallucinating. He explains to Ridley that she shouldn't dwell on these matters now, because the most important thing is that they complete their deal. But Ridley was deeply troubled. She quickly gathered a little information about the magical unicorn. She learned that it was part of an ancient legend. A royal family had kept it as a pet, but later, when they discovered its magical powers, they decided to kill it to gain its power. Sometime later, the unicorn came back to life and took revenge on everyone in that family. Reading this story frightened Ridley even more. When she went to sleep, she began having nightmares. Ridley had a very strange dream. She saw herself running through the forest, but when she looked down, she found herself inside the unicorn's body. Ridley woke up in fear, unable to understand what was happening. As soon as she opens her eyes, some strange-looking men stand before her, tying her and her father, Elliot, up. It turns out they are scientists called by Odell to test Ridley and Elliot to determine the effect the blue blood has had on them. After the test is over, Ridley goes to talk to her father and tells him everything about the dream. Elliot tells Ridley to forget everything and stop dwelling on it. Meanwhile, when the doctors finish testing the unicorn's blood, they discover that it is a very strange blood. It can cure any human illness. The scientists tell Odell this and suggest that they conduct a direct experiment on a human to confirm this. Odell is extremely excited by this and decides to conduct the experiment on himself. After a while, the doctors prepare the injection of magical blood and inject Odell with it. Ridley, distraught by this, rebukes them and runs into the forest to find some peace. Meanwhile, when the scientists begin examining the unicorn, they discover that its veins are still functioning. This means they could continue to extract blood from it for a longer period of time. Ridley, meanwhile, is wandering through the forest. As she walks, she feels someone watching her. She looks around, but no one is there. Terrified, she runs quickly and returns home. At night, Elliot goes to check on Odell and asks how he is feeling. Odell says he is feeling much better and that the treatment is working. Hearing this, Elliot is overjoyed and wishes him a speedy recovery. Meanwhile, Ridley is still trying to gather more information about the magical unicorn. Odell's son, Shepard, spots her. Shepard decides to help Ridley. He gives her his printer so she can print out all the unicorn's photos and information and study them comfortably. When Shepard leaves after helping Ridley, his father, Odell, suddenly appears before him. He looks completely fine now. Odell immediately gathers all the doctors and orders them to extract as much blue blood from the unicorn as possible so that he can always have the cure and use it himself. He also says that if this cure becomes public, its price will skyrocket. But the doctor stops him and explains that this is impossible because this blood has a shelf life. After that, it becomes ineffective. Meanwhile, Ridley was terrified by what had happened to Odell a while ago. But she still mustered up her courage and returned to her research to find out what was really happening to the unicorn. A few hours later, Ridley received some alarming information. She went straight to Odell and told him to listen carefully. Ridley explained that the medicine Odell had taken was very strong and effective, but if he overdosed, It could kill him. Ridley also explained that for centuries, people have been using the unicorn's blood, just as Odell was doing now. But each time, their end was disastrous, as the unicorn would come back to life and kill them. As expected, Odell ignored any of her advice. He instead told her that he would show the unicorn to the whole world, and that she need not speak about it again. Ridley was deeply hurt by Odell's behavior. A short while later, Odell's wife followed Ridley. She consoled her and said she would try to find a solution. Ridley then got into her car, angry and saddened because even her father, Elliot, didn't believe her and wouldn't support her in front of Odell. Meanwhile, Odell and the other doctors prepared the unicorn. They packed it in a bag to take it out of the mansion and into the city. While Odell and the doctors were preparing to transport the unicorn, the power to the entire mansion suddenly went out. At that very moment, the device the doctors had with them started emitting a very strong signal. This signal meant that the unicorn was still alive. Ridley, who was in the car, got out and looked at the sky, seeing strange colors. Elliot immediately went to the doctors to find out what was happening, but none of the doctors were able to understand or respond. Suddenly, one doctor died. He had been struck by a unicorn's horn. When Elliot looked closely, he realized that the one who killed the doctor was another unicorn, not the one they had killed earlier. The guards fired continuously at the unicorn, but it had no effect on him. The unicorn was very powerful and began killing all the guards one by one. Elliot, seeing all this, immediately called out to his daughter, Ridley, telling her to get into the car and get away. As soon as Ridley got into the car, the unicorn pounced on her and charged at her with full force. The other guards tried to stop it with their advanced weapons, but to no avail. Ridley then got out of the car and ran for her life, but the unicorn chased after her and refused to let up. Finally, Ridley hid in a stable, but the unicorn arrived there too. Strangely, as the unicorn approached Ridley, he suddenly became quiet. His horn began to glow brightly, and at that very moment, something strange was about to happen. Ridley gently touched its horn. Just then, a female guard arrived, and along with the rest of the guards began firing at the unicorn. Eventually, the unicorn ran away, and peace reigned. When the situation calmed down, everyone returned to the mansion. Ridley became furious with her father. She shouted that she had warned him many times, but he never believed her. Elliot still ignored her and always followed Odell. Ridley begged them to return the unicorn to his parents. She said this was the only way to stop everything, but no one there paid any attention. Odell decided the exact opposite. Odell decided to hunt down all these magical unicorns. He then formed a team of hunters and set out for the forest to capture unicorns. Elliot was preparing to follow them, but Ridley came to him and tried to stop him. She cried and begged him not to go into the forest, but as always, Elliot refused. He said he couldn't leave Odell alone. Meanwhile, Shepard went to the doctor and obtained a sample of the unicorn's blood. He believed that using this blood would give him immense strength and enable him to face any danger. Shepard created a special liquid from the blood and began using it on himself. But as soon as he did so, strange things began to happen to him. His body began to change, and he couldn't understand what was happening to him. At the same time, Ridley also began to feel something terrible. Ridley got into the car and considered running away, but at the last moment she changed her mind. She didn't want to leave her father alone. Just then, Ridley saw a strange, bright light in the sky. She immediately got out of the car and ran inside the mansion to look at her research papers to understand what the light was. After searching for a while, Ridley discovered the truth. She panicked and immediately called her father, Elliot, telling him to return to the mansion immediately, because the unicorn had set a trap for them in the forest. If they reached that place, none of them would survive. But Elliot didn't answer her call. Ridley then ran to the mansion guard and explained the gravity of the situation. She told him they had to act immediately, or everything would be over. Ridley told the guard to contact everyone in the forest right away, as they were in grave danger. Meanwhile, the doctor was trying to cut off the horn of the unicorn, but the strange thing was that the horn was constantly glowing as if it were charged with energy. Meanwhile, Elliot finally received Ridley's message, but it was too late. Just then, the unicorn appeared before them and attacked all the hunters, killing them one by one. Elliot used night vision goggles to protect himself, allowing him to pinpoint the unicorn's exact location. He grabbed Odell, and the two managed to escape and reach the mansion. But the danger wasn't over yet. The unicorn chased them, reached the mansion, and entered. Just as Elliot and Odell were trying to escape, another unicorn appeared before them. The two unicorns surrounded Odell. Odell showed his cleverness and began speaking to the unicorns in a calm voice. He spoke kindly to them, which calmed one of the unicorns down a bit, but as soon as Odell tried to put his hand on its horn, another unicorn came from behind and attacked him. Odell died on the spot. Just then, Ridley brought the little unicorn. She intended to return it to its mother and father so that they would calm down and stop attacking humans. But Elliot still wasn't convinced. Even after all this, he wouldn't listen to Ridley. He said he would call the police and they would solve the problem. But as soon as he took out his phone, the network completely disappeared. Everyone was now scared, and Odell's wife also told Elliot that they should listen to Ridley. She said it would be best if they returned the little unicorn to its parents. Despite Elliot's hesitation, Odell's wife made the decision. She ordered the guard and doctor to take the little unicorn outside and hand it over to the two unicorns waiting outside. But the doctor made the real mistake. She had cut off the little unicorn's horn. She thought it was no big deal, and the other unicorns wouldn't know. A short while later, the guard and doctor brought the little unicorn outside and placed him in front of his parents. But as soon as the two big unicorns saw their baby and realized that his horn had been cut, they went wild. The unicorn first attacked the doctor and killed her. The guard witnessed it all with his own eyes and somehow managed to escape at the last moment. When the others learned of the incident, Shepard said that Ridley could handle the unicorns while the others tried to escape. Elliot was surprised and asked why only Ridley. Shepard explained that unicorns would never harm Ridley because she was the only one who hadn't coveted their magical power. Everyone else had tried to gain it, but Ridley had always tried to understand them. The situation was becoming increasingly frightening. Elliot, terrified, went to Odell's wife and told her that he no longer wanted to be involved. He said that it was their mistake and that they would have to fix it. At that very moment, strange changes began to occur in Shepard's body. Bright lights began to emanate from his eyes, and he began to be influenced by an unknown force. As Ridley and Elliot tried to escape, Shepard appeared in front of them. Shepard grabbed Ridley, but just as he was about to harm her, the two unicorns suddenly appeared. Elliot and Ridley seized the opportunity and escaped one way, while Shepard and his mother took another. They had the younger unicorn's horn. On the way, Shepard's mother asked him what his plan was now. Shepard coldly declared he wasn't going to escape. He explained that he intended to capture the two unicorns and then create new magical powers from their offspring, making him the most powerful being. But then Shepard looked at his device and was shocked. The unicorn's horn was missing. Then the truth was revealed. Elliot had stolen the horn. Elliot was now sitting with Ridley. He was deeply remorseful and apologized to his daughter. With tears in his eyes, Elliot told Ridley that he had always prioritized work and never listened to her. He repeatedly apologized to her and said that he now realized he had been wrong all along. Ridley was deeply touched by his words. She wept and hugged her father. Just then, Shepard and his mother rushed into the hall to find Elliot and Ridley. After a brief chase, the unicorns caught Shepard's mother and killed her. Meanwhile, Elliot locked Ridley on the balcony to keep the unicorns from reaching her. He then stepped forward and deliberately ran in front of the unicorns to distract them and give Ridley a chance to escape. After several attempts, Ridley finally managed to escape from the balcony. As she came out, she saw the unicorns chasing her father, trying to kill him. Ridley was about to run when Shepard suddenly appeared. He had an arrow in his hand and threatened Ridley to come with him. Ridley reluctantly followed Shepard to the courtyard. The little unicorn was also there. Just then, the unicorn's father arrived. He looked furious and ready for revenge. But as soon as he saw Ridley, his anger slowly faded. He came closer and knelt at her feet as if he trusted her. Shepard seized the opportunity. He immediately rushed forward and tied a rope around the unicorn's leg to restrain him. Ridley stopped him, telling him he was making a grave mistake and shouldn't have done that. But as always, Shepard didn't listen. He boasted that he knew what he was doing and that no one could stop him. Then suddenly, they heard another voice. It was the unicorn's mother. Everyone turned and saw Elliot with her. He had overpowered the unicorn using the little unicorn's horn. But surprisingly, as soon as the unicorn came close to Ridley, she also calmed down and lay at her feet. When Ridley approached them, both unicorns became completely calm. Seeing this, Shepard again ran forward and tied a rope around the mother unicorn's legs. Watching this, Elliot's anger exploded. He swung the horn he was holding at Shepard. But Shepard was no longer human. The unicorn's blood in his body had made him extremely powerful. He blocked Elliot's attack and struck Elliot with his arrow. Elliot fell to the ground, and Ridley ran to him in panic. She cried loudly because Elliot was badly wounded and bleeding heavily. But before she could do anything, Shepard tried to attack again. He picked up the unicorn's horn and moved forward to finish Elliot. At that very moment, the unicorn's father broke free from his ropes. He ran with all his strength and kicked Shepard hard with his legs. Shepard flew into the air and fell to the ground, dying instantly. Elliot was now breathing his last. He held Ridley's hand and whispered that he wanted to know one thing before he died. "What did you see when you first touched the unicorn's horn?" Ridley wiped her tears and said she had seen some strange things. She felt the unicorn wanted to show her something. The story of his origins, his world, and his pain. She also explained that in those visions, she'd seen memories of her mother, moments her father had lost long ago. Elliot smiled softly. He looked into his daughter's eyes and said, "Forgive me, Ridley." And within seconds, he took his last breath. Ridley held her father in her arms, crying nonstop. She couldn't believe she would never see him again. But then, a miracle happened. The unicorn's father came to her and calmly stood before Ridley. He then combined his power with the mother unicorns, and together they created a bright light using their magical energy. That light reattached the little unicorn's broken horn, and moments later, Elliot's wounds began to heal. Slowly, he opened his eyes. He was alive. Elliot could now see everything Ridley had seen before. All those visions, the old memories, and the truth of that magical world. Elliot hugged Ridley tightly. There was joy and peace in their eyes. It felt as if everything had finally returned to normal. But then the mansion doors opened. The guard entered, followed by the police. They looked around, but the unicorns were gone. The police arrested Elliot and Ridley, accusing them of killing Odell's family. But Elliot and Ridley were not afraid. They were simply happy that they had helped the magical unicorns and saved their world. Then something shocking happened. Instead of letting Elliot and Ridley fall into danger, the unicorns decided to help them. They used their powers to make Elliot and Ridley disappear from the police's sight and transported them to safety. The story ends with Elliot and Ridley free, and the magical unicorns returning to their forest. And the film ends with them. Friends, if you liked this video and got lost in the story while watching, please subscribe to support us, so we can keep bringing you more videos like this. Thanks for watching.